Hey, folks, thanks for joining me for this episode of the Embellish Podcast, a podcast focused on product stories, product storytellers, interesting brand ambassadors, and any other tangent that I happen to come up with. Whether you're a bourbon fan, a geek, a casual observer, or someone just floating through the channel, you're sure to waste a few minutes listening to what I have to say, and I hope you find it interesting. If you got here by chance, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. I can be found on any podcasting platform that exists. If you can't find me on a platform, send me an email at embellishpod@gmail.com, and I'll get that taken care of. I also generally live stream the recording of these episodes on YouTube, usually on Wednesday night, but tonight we're doing it on Sunday, and I do it usually around 9:30. You can find all of my links on Instagram at EmbellishPod or Twitter with the same handle, TikTok, same thing. Not really sure what that platform's for, but we'll figure it out eventually. I have a website. It is www.embellishpod.com, and that's also a place to pick up these links, episode details, tasting notes, contact information. Today is Sunday, March the 6th. It is about 7:30, and tonight we're going to have Jack and hold on, I'm trying to get you guys added back in. Jack and Tim. My mouse froze up on me for a second. Jack and Tim from their respective channels and from Monday Night Sucks. I'll say this: the mere existence of a show called Monday Night Sucks with the two of you guys is a testament to the virtual community of spirits enthusiasts and the idea that, brown spirits are better than clear ones. You take two people who are completely geographically removed with incredibly different backgrounds, and you find a way to munge them together and create something that's really fun and exciting. That's where I've saw both of you guys from, and then I've seen you individually as just a human connection since then. I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. What are we drinking? I saw you sloshing something around there, Jack.
Yeah, I started tonight. When I'm with friends, for me, I have to drink something that actually makes me happy. So it's the Booker's, the Nana batch, 2015 release 128 proof.
I think you're doing that just in case Morgan from Female Whiskey Society has to show up, so you can flex on her a little bit because she's got a
I knew she wasn't going to be here, so I'm happy to actually drink my Booker's in peace.
Right. In peace. We got Jack, or we got Tim. I saw you hold up.
I'm on the Redemption Rye 10-year cash strength.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm having a single barrel.
What you got?
That's some friends of mine might have picked up. Do a little advertising here, maybe. I mean, it's only the right thing to do. I mean, I drink it because I like it, but I'm also drinking it because you guys are here tonight.
Because we're here.
Yep. So I got a quick question, completely unrelated to anything we might talk about, but in the news in the last couple of days, Barrel has kicked out their Seagrass 20+ year or whatever. That's probably going to be $500.
20 year, yeah.
And Heaven Hill has their 17 year coming out. Which one you go after, if any?
Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill.
Because I'm a greedy bastard, probably both.
Well, I mean, like, if all I have to do is look over your shoulder to understand that that's probably going to be the answer.
No,
but I don't disagree with that either.
It's one of those things where I tell myself it is important to just for me it's always about just tasting it, and is the fear in the whiskey industry now is that you either can buy it and enjoy it, or somebody is just going to buy it and then try to sell it for millions of dollars. That's
absolutely
as simple as that.
There are prospectors in these hills. They're trying to find a way to make something. And, I will probably lean toward, I'm not going to buy the Seagrass because it's going to be $500. Like we all know I mean, like the 13 year was at $260.
But to be fair, I think the Heaven Hill is going to be around that same price, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. That likely I won't buy either one, but the Seagrass I really liked, and I was thinking about it earlier this week because I was in Austin for work, and so I went by the Fang and Feather, which is the Whiskey Tribe bar area, and they had a blend of what I think was a blend of like rum and rye.
Okay.
And man, it tasted an awful lot like Seagrass. Like it tasted an awful lot like Seagrass because there's finishing that rye in the Martinique rum barrels and whatever else goes in there. It was fantastic, and I really like that vibe.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
All right, so let's. What I'll get you guys to do is you got to, however long you want, quick intro of who you are, so that way if there's somebody that comes and watches this later on, they have an idea, and we'll let Jack go first.
Oh, I usually let Tim go first, but I will
Well, I've
go.
got Tim first on the next question.
My name is Jack Bigadoo. On the whiskey community, I'm known as the Hood Sommelier. And what I do is I'm a spirit educator, consultant. When I don't do that, I'm a father, and I'm also on an insurance agency that service about 9 states. Um, Love talking about whiskey, and Tim and I are partners on the show Monday Sucks, and um, I just come online and tell people how I feel about whiskey, and I hope they agree or disagree with me.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty spot on. TVR, everyone knows me around here as locally here in Louisville's TVR, but Tim Van Riper on social media, Single Barrel Snob. This industry is my life, man. I run a bar here in Louisville, and it's everything I'm passionate about. Educate, learn, teach. I guess that's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's my end goal at the end of the day is make sure that you have the best thing in your glass, whatever it is, and you know what it's about. Um, I have a lovely wife and a almost 4-year-old terrorist that is currently ruling the house.
I mean, is there any other option? Like that's just
No,
sort of what
that's
happens.
kind of how it goes. And yeah, like Jack said, Monday sucks. He is the other half of the greatness.
Yeah, I there's very few Mondays that I'll miss, and this last week was one of them because I was traveling, and that's how life goes. But um, both of you guys, I think, in my opinion, have been doing interesting things within the industry in different ways, in very, very different ways. You have Monday night, or you have Monday sucks together, but then y'all both do things separately. And I think Tim, you just recently finished the executive steward through Moonshine U, I think is what it is.
Hmm.
So what's your next step? Like, if you can share it, what's the next thing? Like, where are
Yeah.
you heading?
The next steps are to get my WSET certifications, and then there's another certification that you can get through Moonshine University, so you can actually teach bourbon steward classes. And I think that's the route that I'm going to start going. Is I'm Jack and I are really big on education, even when it comes to Monday Sucks or the stuff that we do on our own. And I think that's the space that I want to kind of move into and live in and be in. It'd be great to be behind a brand and do it as well, but I think
Mhm.
I can cover just as much territory doing it freelance as I could do it for a brand.
Yeah, and just kind of to dovetail off that a little bit, the first like human interaction, that sounds weird, right? Because Monday sucks is a platform where you guys talk and we watch, but the first like human interaction I had with you was with Snob School when you were doing the Heaven Hill, and it's a thing that suits you. I think educating at that level, it suits both of you guys. So same question for you, Jack, right? You've been working with Afrofusion, you've been doing making a whole lot of moves. It appears, if I had to guess based off your activity, there's a lot of moves that you're making that no one sees yet that are going to be apparent in the next 6 to 9 months. What's the thing you can talk about that's coming up next?
Mainly, I think this year I want to make it a point to be more in sync with the brand, because the hardest thing is really brands knowing who you are, but not putting you in the bucket of an influencer, because it kind of reduce your ability or your knowledge when you walk on a market. So for me, it's a big deal to meet with the brand themselves and build that genuine relationship with those brands. Another thing I want to make sure is that we offer more of these single barrels uh, that are specific to what I believe a good single barrel will be, because these barrel picks are becoming not are no longer unicorns. They are becoming more of that thing to buy, and everybody and their baby mama and their grandmas are making single barrels. But I want to work with brands to be able to bring out projects with them that are things that people are almost close to something they'll release so specially just for a certain cause. And I think
Mhm.
I'm the person that, just knowing my background and what I like to see in a whiskey, want to work with brands directly to say, hey, you can offer all these barrels to people, but show me what you and I can drink together and agree on, right? So it makes it much more easier for all my patrons. Some good news are coming as far as distribution of our single barrel. Had a great meeting last week, and it seemed like most of my patrons will now have access anywhere in America to be able to get those single barrel, get their hands on that,
Mhm.
and also the ability for me to work with bigger brands to have access to barrels and really distribute that and show the world really what taste is going to be, what taste
Yep.
should be, right? Because Tim and I are very critical of good whiskey. And I always tell people, I mean, I know all the whiskey, but I know what a good whiskey tastes like.
Mhm.
And, my palate is something that I want to be respected. So for that reason, this year is really about establishing that. Afrofusion is going to get bigger. Um, Hopefully, fingers crossed. I think we have it set April 2nd. Washington D.C. is going to be Afrofusion. Uh, Found a beautiful, beautiful place that is willing to host it and get it done. And I've had a lot of feedback of people that want to see it in Houston, want to see it in Dallas, want to see it in Nashville, want to see it in more places because they believe in the idea. Personally, beside that, I'm trying my best to actually just truly enjoy the moment. This year, I'm focusing on more on the tasting side of things. There's a few festival that I will show up at, a few whiskey fest that I want to show up at to really be one on one. COVID is kind of disappearing or is no longer the front news anymore. So it's going to become more easier to really, not just talk about it, but be about it and be part of the thing. Hardest thing always is always people believing in you and bringing you in really to actually say, hey, we believe in you. We think you're going to be here. Kentucky, Bourbon Festival, Whiskey X all around the United States. Those are the people I'm talking to see, can we come there and really represent what you're trying to do and highlight that for you. So that's the work this year.
So you said something in there, Afrofusion in Nashville. If you get one queued up in Nashville and you need somebody to go do things, I'm only a couple hours down the road. So just saying. Just saying. Um, I think you touched on something in there. You were talking about everybody and their brother has a single barrel, and that is absolutely the truth. And I don't know what you guys think about it, but I think my opinion on this is that um, single barrels become the answer to limited allocation of whiskey, right? You can find somebody that you identify your palate with. And once you've kind of hit that groove, anything that they're going to select as a single barrel can now become that unicorn search for you because now you have a limited allotment. There's only 230 bottles or so on a full size barrel. So you get that inside track private club feel with something that's accessible,
Yeah.
but it also limits your risk because like I trust both of y'all's palates. So I know if y'all put out a single barrel, not only is it going to be limited and it's something that not everybody's going to have, but I'm also going to like it. And I think that's sort of the answer. But
Wait for the second release of that bottle you drink.
mhm, I am. I
That one,
heard that it might be
that
in
one, that
February.
one
And it wasn't
is
Fed.
truly going to floor you because that was the one that we all kind of first agreed on, but
Mhm,
then turn around and say, why is this so weird? And why are we all agreeing on it? So
right.
that one, hopefully, um, people will have access to first. But again, it's 45 bottles,
Yep.
and that's how I want to keep it. And I don't want to limit also our viewers to just one thing. I want to introduce them to whiskey, right,
Mhm,
as a whole. So, is it Scotch that we are doing? Is it single malt that we are doing? Is it American whiskey that we are doing?
Mhm.
Or hell, we even push it, you know, is it Armagnac that we are doing, right? Or we say on Monday Sucks that we are people lovers first and
Mhm.
spirit lovers second. Not whiskey, not bourbon, not tequila, not spirit lovers. So we
Right.
are everywhere.
Yeah. And it just seems that whiskey lovers happen to be people lovers at the same time because it's a communal spirit. Most everybody that really likes vodka just sort of hates the world because you're just wanting to drink straight gasoline. But most of your color, your spirits with any degree of color to them, unless you start getting, and maybe it's not spirits, being like as wine people get a little snobby. But
And coming from wine culture,
Mhm.
yes, wine people can get wine people. I think is a connotation behind wine,
Mhm.
especially in the American culture. In other cultures, is not that way, right? Because for me, wine was at the table every day.
Right.
Wine is as much as an Evan William bottle and bond here, or a mellow corn, right? A mellow corn on your table, right? Wine is the mellow corn of Africa, where I grew up, because it's like you'll always find a cab on somebody's table, so it's no big deal at all. But on the contrary, yeah, when you bring that up in American culture,
Mhm.
wine have been placed in a pedestal that is almost hard to pull that off, to say, hey, this is made to be enjoyed, not to be turned into the quote unquote fancy drink.
Right. Right. And I think there may be a lot of reasons for that, but I would suspect that a lot of people that are super into whiskey at this point, at one point in time, were probably into wine because whiskey didn't matter until about 2002 or so.
Mhm.
Before that, there was a huge push towards beer and wine. I mean, the movie that started making me think about food and beverage differently was Sideways, and I'm quite sure you've seen it. You guys have seen it. Paul Giamatti talking about Pinot Noir grapes. Like that's an attachment to food and beverages that most people don't have, but I related to, and I would suspect a lot of, at least some of the whiskey people I've talked to, that's sort of where they came from. And then when whiskey became popular again in the United States, everybody's like, "Oh, sweet! Now it doesn't have to be about grapes; it can be about this corn based liquor that, I mean, reality, corn doesn't come from the United States anyways, but or corn liquor doesn't come here. Neither here nor there. All right, I'm gonna go off on a tangent if I don't watch myself a little bit in there. You think what's next? What do I want to ask next? All right, here's one. So both of you guys have a unique position of having participated in the World's Top Whiskey Taster from separate years. Have y'all talked about the difference between, like, have y'all had the moment to sit down and be like, this is what he experienced, this is what I experienced, and kind of had that conversation? Or are you just like, once the experience is over, I'm done with that, I don't want
I
to talk about
think
it?
I think we did a little bit, but I can say we definitely didn't get a chance to like actually sit
Mhm.
down and like dissect it and see what was different. I actually was with Mike and Matt, who are the winners from the last 2 years. They came into the bar this last week because they were
Mhm.
here. They were here the following day to blend their single barrel or their pick or whatever, however it's going to work,
Yep.
and kind of got to bounce things off both of them and hear how things were different. But
Mhm.
it's crazy how vastly different they were if you just look at it, because you had 100% virtual. Well, let's say like 98% virtual, because the last of it was
In
in
person.
person.
Right.
But you had mostly virtual, and then the one Jack was in was all in person
In
for
person.
for all of them.
Yeah, it's so I like the idea. I like what it stands for. I knew, a little bit of what to expect,
Mhm.
but there's two critiques that I had from the experience. One was I truly did want people in the whiskey industry to be part of it. I really did not just want people that just wanted to participate. I know it sounds like you were discriminating, but no, because I really just wanted people in the whiskey industry to actually be part of it, regardless of what your level is, influencer or educator or whatever it is that you actually are on. For me, that's what I wanted because
Mhm.
maybe I'm still a little salty, but the person that actually beat me in Chicago, which we are the last two,
Yep.
is a food scientist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's a woman, which women have better palate than men anyway. But
It's
she's a
evolutionary.
scientist. So she wasn't very technical about this. But yet, when he came to the final show, she bombed it real well because it was really more about whiskey than
Mhm.
about knowing the specifics, right? So I felt like she robbed that chance away from me because
Yeah.
actually I'm about whiskey.
Yeah, I
The
can see that, and it felt like that for at least both of the years. It felt like the first round was not nearly as technical as the second round, and maybe that's part of it. Is like they
correct.
want to make it as open in the first round as absolutely possible.
The
And I
the
didn't mean to
other
cut you off
thing,
there.
yeah, the other critique that I have is I didn't want it when we say word whiskey taster, I just don't want to walk in and know already which whiskey's gonna be there. It's gonna be bourbon or rye.
Mm-hmm.
What I was expecting is to walk in truly with whiskey because if you say you were a word whiskey taster and
There's a lot of other things to consider.
somewhere I'll be honest and I say I have no respect for these winners, and this is my personal opinion, I have no respect for them, is that I'm expecting you to throw a curve in as Irish whiskey.
Mhm.
I'm expecting you to throw a curve in like single malt. I'm expecting you to throw a curve in like Japanese whiskey. Because I went in and I participated. If I knew it's gonna be the worst, the world bourbon taster, I'll be
Mm.
like, good for y'all, I'm out.
Right.
But
It's
if
kind of
it's the
like
third,
it's kind of like here in the United States we have the World Series of baseball.
yeah, but there's
Where
no
all the
one in
teams
the
are
world.
from North or from the United States. Like, I know we got
Right.
Montreal in there, maybe,
So
but
for me, it's something that really
Mhm.
didn't sit right with me because I went in a mindset of someone who does not discriminate when it comes to whiskey.
right.
So I honestly will tell you right now, from Scotland to Ireland to India to Taiwan to America itself, I try whiskey from everywhere because I
Mhm.
truly believe in the whiskey religion.
Sure.
So if I'm gonna walk in and go, I'm a world whiskey taster, I'm expecting myself to actually say Japanese whiskey, Irish whiskey, single malt from Scotland, maybe even from Ireland, Highlands or anywhere. Yeah, this is from Taiwan. This is just because whiskey.
Yep.
So that's my
It's a
little
real
humble
myopic
opinion
view of
out there.
whiskey to
Yeah.
call that the way. And
So,
I know it's at least I feel like the first year it was just something they sort of tossed out there as a marketing idea, and then the success of it was like, well, we got to do this again, but kind of keep the same thing going. But to call it world, and even if you just back it up to just world corn whiskey, you still have Mexico, you have France, you have Israel, you have all these other countries that are making corn-based liquor as well that aren't represented in it. But I think everybody's going to continue. Are you allowed to try again next year? Are you going to try again next year?
100%.
so
I'm,
so it is. It for me is a maybe. It was nice to be part of it,
Mhm.
but the way I see it is that it's an avenue to work with brand, and I may be very controversial right now. It is an avenue to work with the brand,
Right.
but I'd rather take an authentic idea and bring to the brand to work with.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because I truly believe in my ability to create something new,
Mhm.
not based on anything, but create something new enough for the market, for the brand to go, oh, maybe we'll work on this project with you.
Mhm.
So
Do you think that something like this gives yourself the foot in the door to have that conversation, whereas you might not otherwise? Which, I mean, both of you guys are carrying significant followings in social media, right? So you have to kind of you may be able to get someone's attention better than a much smaller platform, But does this, or do they just look at it like you're the winner of this contest? Come in, collect your party that we're going to have in a parking lot. blend your whiskey and show up for a couple of promotional events for us, and then it's over. And that's not a criticism of it. That's the
I'd say it's kind of twofold. I would say it's kind of both. The content that Jack and I have created because of Monday Sucks, like we've gotten the attention of brands. Like there's definitely some sort of an understanding where like, shit, we're gonna go on this show and they're gonna give us true critique, and there's not gonna be any fluff or any bullshit behind it. Right. And because of that, Jack and I have gotten some really great opportunities and gotten to do some really cool things. This is my take on it as far as being on that competition. I think there's some pull to it, but not. I don't think it's a lot. I think it's like, oh, it's like a nod. You're like, oh, okay. What do you think?
No,
Jack?
but I mean, it is an opportunity, right?
Oh,
because
sure.
if you use your opportunity the right way, obviously it'll work. The proof is ADHD, bourbon, right? He won, obviously. So when, now that he's the winner, he used that now to say, hey, I'm the world whiskey taster. So, come to my channel to watch me taste a whiskey, or I can get you this. So he's using that opportunity to grow his channel. Obviously, growing your channel means you get more income, which means that more brands are coming in. When he started his channel, he wasn't sponsored by any company. Now Alex Bradley sponsored his channel. So it is an opportunity, right? I feel like everybody just have to maximize the opportunity. I made Afrofusion with Heaven Hill. It is an opportunity. Now I can actually go to another brand and say, I have an idea that I own, right? So every one of these things are an opportunity to make, to create that door for you to actually just push whatever agenda you have. I'm never gonna be, Matt. I'm never gonna have that weightiness or the way he handle whiskey. But Matt also can never do what I do.
Right. And it's not that one is necessarily better or worse than the other. They're just different. And I've always looked at it, at least in the business world for me, everyone's a resource if you're willing to look at them as such, and not even people you dislike, right? You may dislike a person, but they could still potentially be a resource. That sounds very like utilitarian or capitalistic or whatever, but I mean, they're put on a path for us to use or not use. It's sort of up to us to kind of figure those things out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great way to look at it, is that, it's Jack, you nailed it. Like, you can't do what he's doing, he can't do what you're doing, but we're still, all kind of on the same avenue because we all bring different things to the table.
There's space for everybody.
Absolutely. That's one thing that some lose aspect of, or lose vision of, is that, they're doing X, Y, and Z and blah 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 blah, and I could do it better. And it's like it doesn't fucking matter, right? Because I mean, here's a great example. Jack's in a space that I can never be in because I'm white. I can't go do Afrofusion. I think that's a fucking great idea.
I mean, I'm gonna say this, and I'm not. I think white America would probably accept it, but it wouldn't be genuine or legitimate, right?
No.
Like you could, but you shouldn't.
Sure.
I told my mom last night, I was like, I could drive all the way to town using my knees to steer my steering wheel. Doesn't mean I should do it, right? Sure. Like you could do it, and people would probably accept it, but it's the wrong thing. And I get what you're getting at there. It's we lose. I have done this myself before, where I lose sight of the idea that a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And you see someone that has success, and you're like, well, I think I could do what they're doing better, and if that's your sole motivating factor, you're probably not going to find a high degree of satisfaction. I don't generally compare what I do on this to anyone else, because this is just something that I do for fun. Like this is a side project for me. It was like, I talk about these things to people I work with on a regular basis, and they just want me to stop talking to them. And they're like, hey, you should go talk to other people about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'll go talk to myself in a room, and record it and let people listen to it, which is real. Like, it's egotistical to think people would want to, but it's rewarding when they do.
Agreed. Yeah.
And it seems like Matt is trying to leak something here because he came in the chat and he's like, it's bring an idea to a brand. It's about long-term relationships. And I just kind of tongue in cheek was like, better watch out. Now you're going to be the recipient of it. His immediate response, we're already working on a project. So I don't know. This man's trying to leak stuff.
We are, because when I had my meeting, Matt was the first person I called. I said, Matt, due to your new position, we need to set up a meeting to actually have a conversation, and he agrees. So
I was out of town last week, and I was not paying attention to social media at all because it was work. And I realized when I got on the airplane Thursday morning that Matt was going between San Antonio and Dallas, and Austin sits right in the middle of that. Like I was within 30 or 40. I could have been like, hey, let's go hang out and have a drink, because that's Matt. And he would have been, I'm like, now I feel like a terrible person. If I'd have been paying attention, I'd have known he was there. But there's always next time.
Matt, call me back, man.
Hey, yeah, call him back. So you did an Afrofusion at Jack. You did an Afrofusion at the end of Kentucky Bourbon Festival last year. You gonna try to repeat that this year?
No. So it will not. I will be honest with you. Mm-hmm. If I have to, I'd rather do something. What?
I was just gonna say, I thought we were gonna get real for a seced.
Yeah,
Kentucky people.
Yeah. So I will be honest and tell you.
Get real.
I had a bad taste in my mouth from Louisville. I would say Louisville. Mm-hmm. I say Kentucky. I would say Louisville. It seems like the population Louisville is not embracing of things that are different. So people can be nice to you to your face, but truly, now I understand when people say Southern nice.
Welcome to the pseudo South, and you got to. It's very. My experience with Kentucky, living here most of my life, is it's very tribalistic. Mm-hmm. And if you were a local to Louisville, you might have been treated entirely differently than being a person from Nebraska or
absolutely,
from, wherever else.
And a lot of people in the whiskey industry disappoint me like that because they truly do follow the stereotype. Mm-hmm. Right? They follow that stereotype, and it's very sad. It's very, very sad because one of the things, or one of the decisions I had to make in 2022 is to decide who I'm willing to work with and who I'm waiting to tell, fuck you, I'm never going to work with you. Based on the fact that if there's one thing my dad is not the favorite person in the world, my favorite person in the world, but there's one thing he always told me. He said, the beggar always have the longer hand than the giver, right? That's wisdom from Africa.
I was going to say, let's go ahead and hashtag that right there. You got this week's content. You're good.
The beggar has the longer hand than the giver, meaning if you need something, you'll be the one who have to do all the round. There's people that literally irk, like my DNA hurt when I see them, in a sense that to those people, I walked in, I would say, here I am. I would love to work with you. I would love to do something with you. I'm doing Afrofusion. Would you come? And I will be honest and tell you, they showed their ass. They literally showed their ass. And for that reason, if I'm going to do something, or if there's something I'm actually going to do, I can do something in the Louisville or anything, but it will be more on the population level than, focusing on the whiskey community, right? The minority community or anybody that's trying to come. I mean, hell, you particularly, you couldn't even come to 2 or 3 or 4 of my event, but you made sure to tell me, hey, dude, I bought a ticket. It's just going to be a burn ticket, but I bought a ticket to be there.
Yeah, we intended to be there, but it just life gets in the way sometimes, and I felt like that was going to be my next comment. Like, and some people said they were going to show up, and then they didn't because they're worthless.
and some people actually send me a message and say, hey, dude, I've been following you for a while. I appreciate what you're doing. I can't make it. What can I do to help? Right? Because I tell people all the time, showing support to your fellow man has nothing to do, right? Has nothing to do with your ability to actually, conjure something amazing. It's just showing that you give a shit. It's literally saying, hey, I'm here. I can do this, or I'm going to do this for you to tell you that maybe I cannot support you immediately, but I can be there for you.
Yeah,
That's
there's different ways to show up for people. There's lots of different ways to
correct.
show up for people.
So there's a lot of places that I will tell you right now. I will do an event in Kentucky. I have a couple things in the works right now that I'm going to work on in Kentucky. But I will tell you right now, it's open to the masses. It is not particularly focused around Afrofusion. I think maybe next door to Indiana, maybe the next one, because of the population, the demographic,
Right.
and more of the immigrant population there compared to Louisville. Louisville was great as an event because all my friends were there. I felt loved by all my friends that were there, but outsider were not there. And
Once you get out of the immediate sphere of influence,
Yeah.
things change.
it really say clearly, Louisville send their message.
Mhm.
We don't give a shit about immigrant shit, or maybe black people shit. I don't know, but
Yeah, no, that
my
well,
friends were there, right?
I would probably
It
lean
was-
towards the latter, and I don't know how Tim feels about that, but
I can, you know what? I can tell you this. It's not just immigrant. It's outsider. I mean, I've been dealing with this the whole almost 6 years that I've been here. It's been the biggest fucking struggle for me because I'm not from here. I'm from the West Coast, and
that makes it even
why
worse.
sh-
The
yeah,
only thing worse
why
than
should-
Northern is West Coast.
right? Why should we fucking listen to you? Why should we give you a chance? You're not with our people. You're not from here. You don't know what the fuck's going on here. And it's like, fuck. It's gotten a little bit better in the last year or so, but it's still a fucking struggle. There's
Right.
still people that I've tried to vibe with that I've just given up on 100% because I was like, you're fake as fuck.
Mhm.
You shake my hand and say hi and oh hey man, we should blah 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 blah. And then when I show up, you don't fucking show up. So why? Why am I gonna lose sleep and stress out about this shit when you don't give a shit? You just want to play the pretend game and look fucking okay and look cool or look politically correct. Fuck you. Nah, man, I'm done. Jack has it right, dude. Jack fucking nailed it.
Yep.
I will tell you this. I was angry being at his event to support him, and that there's people that we've hung out, him and I, and vibed with in this town, and they didn't fucking show up. They didn't send a fucking message. They didn't say, "Hey,
They
man."
didn't buy a
They
damn
didn't
ticket.
Fuck you, dude. I'm done. I'm fucking
Right.
done.
You give people enough time and enough ability, and they'll eventually show you exactly who they are and what they're about. And that's sometimes great and sometimes really, really disappointing.
Yep.
And when
It's
disappointing,
a
it hits so
double-edged-
much harder.
It's a double-edged sword.
This is a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword because you can see who your real friends are, and then yeah,
Right away.
instantly.
I will say that I'm absolutely stealing that. When I see certain people, it makes my DNA hurt. I've never heard that phrase before. Matt put it in the chat. He was like, "My DNA hurts." Like that's like it's going. I keep post-it notes of things that people say like on my computer, so I know to reuse them whenever I'm having meetings for work because I do a lot of Zoom meetings. Is going right here. That's what I'm writing on this. Stick it right here. I'm gonna use it again. I got somebody specific I can point this at. That sounds really terrible, doesn't it?
But it's because truly what people don't understand is also knowing the type of person you deal with, right?
Mhm.
Like I would tell you right now, it's hard for me. Sometimes I get busy. Obviously, I'm a father. I run a business, and I also have a community. Sometimes it's hard for me to really dedicate attention to just one person.
Yep.
But I make an effort always, right? So you may ask somebody, and they'll like right now. I have like a box of I call it my shame box. It's people that send me stuff that ask me to review it as a favor.
Mhm.
Now, them fuckers don't pay me, so it's not my job. But
Right.
I want to actually I want to be nice and help. But I
Right.
just don't have the time because obviously I have my own agenda.
Right.
But I try my best to not be that guy in more sense. I'm I'm fair to everyone, and I have a no thank you bite when it comes to everybody. Right?
Mhm.
You approach me, I'll give you a chance. The chance to say no, thank you, I'm good. I'll take one bite to whatever it is that you have offering, and I will tell you. It's when someone asked me one time, he said, "Why are you so angry?" When I say my DNA hurt, why are you so angry when these brands or these people on YouTube don't get back to you? I said, because these so-called big YouTube channels never ask themselves the question, what would have happened if no one gave us a chance when we were at this guy's position?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And
None of
and
these
some
people
channels are
asked
open to it, and some
because
channels are just
I
not.
was I was floored. I was floored. I'm maybe this cast trend is bringing the truth, but I was floored when people that I think were too busy were the first one to respond, right? But on
Mhm.
the opposite way, the people that are obviously just people that you're like, oh, I know who you are. I've been following you for a while. I'm gonna message you,
Yeah.
and they either ghost you, don't answer you, or turn around and say, I'll get back to you, but never do. Right?
Mhm.
Just to almost like a hush hush, shut up. But every day you see the same people saying, I'm collaborating with this because most people are just selfishly chasing their own clout.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep.
They don't give a shit about anybody. They don't give a shit about. That's why I tell some of these people that go and support some of these YouTube channels, the whiskey channel, I laugh. I'm like, they really don't give a shit about you.
Right.
If it's not going to bring them clout, they don't give a shit. So
Right.
that's why I'm usually, my YouTube channel is not the biggest one, but if I tell you how many requests, like people that don't know me but follow me, how many times I go into my requested message every morning to see all the people that I don't follow that send me message just to answer them. I got somebody who asked me, what does ABV mean? You know, and that was Saturday while my daughter was already getting on my nerves. But guess what? I took a moment and I went, you know what? I may be the only person. I may be the only person that that is, that he may be courageous enough to ask this question. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna take a moment in that. But all these brands, including Matt himself, there, he only collaborate with the people that are big enough like him.
Mhm.
But somebody like mashing drums, he didn't have any problem to say, dude, I will tell you right now, I just saw your email,
Mhm.
and for some reason, I was just clearing my spam, and I saw this email, and I just thought I would DM you right now. Like, dude, what do you want? What do we want to talk about? I know you like scotch. You want to come and kick it? And
Right.
I asked Mash and Drum, I say, hey, you are so big. Why did you even care about me? And it's like, I remember what it is like to be at your position.
Right.
I'm bigger than you on YouTube, but you're bigger than me on Instagram. Right? I do better than you on this, but I respect who you are. And
Yeah.
that's what most people don't understand in this biz is respect me.
Mhm.
I don't give a shit if you don't even like me, but respect me.
Right.
And by showing respect is saying, hey, you need a minute, I'll give you a minute to come say whatever you need to say.
Mhm.
But if there is this clusterfuck of, oh, I'm big enough and you're big enough and we're the only one that keep doing it, you guys just look like gatekeepers. And I
Right.
posted something one day about gatekeeping.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, we are the only big one that's going to stay there. But guess what? It takes one thing to happen for now that person to be on top. And now you want to collaborate with that person. And guess what?
People remember things. You know, Spite has a very long memory, and I know because I live in Spite with a very select few people. There's a few people that are on a list, and you touched on something in there, and you were talking about people that support YouTube channels, and I've never looked at it that way. Like you were talking about, you know, supporting somebody that doesn't really care about you. I've always looked at, and it's an interesting perspective. I'm going to kind of keep that in my mind going forward, but I've always looked at it as I will support YouTube or podcasters that they've created content that I'm interested in doing, and I go back to it for more than 3 consecutive months, right? If I'm coming back to you over and over and over again, you're putting out a product, whether I think you care about me or not, but you're putting out a product that I enjoy. I don't pay for cable. I don't pay for this. I don't pay for that. So this is basically my cable bill for a YouTube channel or whatever. But there is a thing to think about in there is, you know, like I've been at the beginning of the year, you know, I say, I'm going to start this podcast. And at the end of the year, that's when I want to start inviting people on to have a conversation because I want to figure out my own shit and like what I'm trying to do here. But the ultimate goal was, can I have conversations with people that I find that are interesting? Right. And so I sent out messages to you guys and a handful of other people, and almost everyone came back with an immediate yes. And then I was like, well, shit, now I got to get them all scheduled in the next 3 months. Right. Like,
John, do you know why people say yes?
I hadn't put a ton of thought into it, but the people that I've talked to so far, most of them seem genuine enough that they're just interested in having a talk with people.
That's not true.
Okay. Well,
you know why people say yes?
Go ahead.
You, sir, are probably the most caring and supportive person online. I will tell you one thing. There's a select few people that can claim that they came to my basement.
Look, I got yelled at for that, and you're a crazy human being. Like, I will legitimately say you are a crazy human being.
But guess what? Why do you think when you told me you were coming to town, I'm the first person that said, hey, you are in Omaha?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, come to the house. And he's like, what? Come to the house. Because you are one of these people. I can genuinely tell people, out of people that I've never met before, you come on Monday sucks. When I open a Patreon, you're the first person to sign up.
I was second.
Oh, yeah, Tim was the first.
Tim was first. Tim was first.
Tim doesn't count. Tim is my brother. He doesn't count. I'm talking about people I don't know. You're the first person to sign up. When I do something, your message is always the same. Hey, bud, what do you need help with? You support without quid pro quo. You don't care. You are somebody that I want to support, so you jump behind it. And where I'm from, as the African in me, for me, that's family.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a friend. That's not a supporter. That's family. When someone jump in every time you're doing something, even blindly, in the simple hope that they like what your intention or your spirit is, and they are going to support you and don't care, you know what I'm saying? That is what you call family.
Yeah.
So for that reason, when you ask, you are probably one of the people that people will not say no to. Because even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 3 minutes, you will jump in and do this.
Well, I appreciate the kind words there, but you mentioned it. Some people kind of get wrapped up in size, and the only person that I had that turned me down, and it wasn't even a legitimate turn down, is like my moonshot was Fawn Weaver. I'm like, I want to talk to Fawn Weaver because like she's the best product storyteller in the whiskey game right now, period. And like, I've listened to enough podcasts, I've read enough of her stuff that I'm like, there's her and one other person. I'm not going to say that one out loud because I haven't sent that message out yet. But she passed me off to the executive assistant. They can't get anything done in the next 6 months. And I get that because she's an incredibly busy, like, she's getting up and doing yoga at 5 a.m. and then
Yeah.
having business meetings for 12 hours a day. I get that. You know, that
let me put it this way to you. I shot for Fawn Weaver. I settled for Victoria.
Oh yeah, no. That, I'm on board with that. But
that's literally and I walked to the distillery myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, for sure. And that I lucked out because David Levine from Whiskey in My Wedding Ring, which is another podcast, he and I kind of go back and forth, and he's like, "Hey, we're having this event with Fawn Weaver and Clay Risen about the book that he was writing, you know, and it's going to be like a live stream, but then there's going to be a private tasting afterwards, or a private Q&A afterwards with Fawn and the team." And I'm like, absolutely, get me on the list, you know. And I got my opportunity to ask her one question, and so I'm sort of satisfied in that. But it's like a junkie; you just want more. You just want more and more and more and more. You know, and she
literally sent me a message and said, "I don't have time. I appreciate you wanting to talk to me. I will get back to you whenever I have time." And I said, "Can I steal a Sunday that you share with Keith? I want an hour out of it." He said, "Keith don't even get the whole Sunday."
Right. Right. Well, I mean, I guess maybe if you watch social media long enough, you might be figure out where she's having brunch and try to meet her in.
Yes.
But that's probably a level that you end up on a EPO or
on a watch list.
Yeah. She's like, "Nope, you're not allowed around me anymore." But like, it was enough that I brought my children. I have 2 daughters. I brought them up here and I said, "I want you to stand here and watch this woman speak for just 5 or 10 minutes, because it's not too often that you get to see, number one, a woman, but a woman who's also a person of color in a position like that."
Yeah.
And I absolutely want my children experiencing that. Right. And so I want to have the conversation so I can be like, yeah, I talked to this, what I think is an incredible human being, and I want you guys to experience it, because most everything that I do that's whiskey related, my children listen to it, you know, because we're not those people.
And it takes a special type of person to think that way. It does take a special type of person to think that way.
I wish it wasn't a special type of person to think that way, because that's just the way people should think.
That's my life as I know it. It does take a special type of person to think that way, to really just want to think and say, "Hey, my daughters need to know about this," because in so many time in the whiskey industry is you hear people tell you about stuff, but will never actually follow up with what they do. But also people look at people a certain way. And they don't think about it. It's not being racist or anything. It's just they don't think of it this way, because it doesn't make sense. Because those girls will be like, "Oh, that girl doesn't look like me. So why is it that you want me to actually listen to her?" Versus that's another woman that is doing something so great that you should follow.
And the fact that I have to like bring them up to point it out, because it is a rare thing, that bothers me immensely. But I also want them to know that this can be a normal thing in the future. You know, they're part of that change. My generation is probably not going to be it. Maybe close to Tim's generation. I think you're a little bit younger than me there. Let me see. Like, I've got other questions. So we're pushing on an hour here. You guys, I will stay as long as you want to, but when you need to go, you need to go. I'm taking time for your family.
I'm good to grind. I'm good to grind.
Okay. You get to the point, let me know. All right. So, Tim, you mentioned this, and Jack, you're not allowed to answer this question. So earlier you said next for you is WSET. What is that for my uninitiated, uneducated individuals? The reason Jack can't explain it is because I know he knows, but Tim brought it up first.
It's just another certification. It shows what you know your shit. Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first 2 are directed towards spirits, and when you get into the third set, it's more wine.
No, so everyone have a third set that is either spirit or wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some positions and some jobs that I've been looking at, and they won't even talk to you unless you're WSET 2 certified. So, just It's making sure you know what you're talking about,
Mhm.
essentially.
It's a certification to prove what you already knew. It's like when you said you were going to go do executive bourbon steward, I'm like, well, it's like Morgan and Ian. They went and did the certified bourbon steward, which I did that myself. And they're like, we're going to go do this. We got to study. And I'm like, you don't need to study. Like, you already know all the things that are in that, just like you already knew all the things that were in the executive portion. It's just validating the thing, telling people, I do know this.
I was literally stressing out about it because I knew it was a pass-fail kind of thing.
Right.
And like talk to people that already did it, and they're like, why are we even having this conversation? You already know all this shit. Like, it was so
because you've got too
like,
much humility. Because you've got too much like, well, maybe no. Come on, man.
whatever. But like clicking through the exam, like it was like click, 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 and I got to the end and I was like, I think I fucked up. Like, I got to the end and second guessed myself, and I said, nope, fuck it. Like,
Don't do that.
Submit. And I got fucking 98%. I missed one question, and it was either about Irish whiskey or Scotch.
Yeah, who cares about that?
I mean, but like,
Right.
and I was just like dumbfounded. I was like, fuck, I already knew this shit. Like,
But my question, so this is, but why were you dumbfounded? Like, this is what you do day in and day out. Like, why are you dumbfounded?
I don't know. I think that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But like,
there's some therapy involved in answering that question. I understand what you're getting at, but this is more of a, and I think Jack's probably in the same place. Like, he probably thought the same thing. Like, you're going to be done with this in 20 minutes. You may be the first or second person done.
Correct.
Go on, man.
So I did, John, I did respond to you.
Okay.
And you were asking if I want to address Matt's question. And so I'm going to read something just so people don't think that I'm the angry black man. Just coming.
I didn't think that you were, but I also didn't know if you just wanted to roll past it, address it another day or whatever. And I didn't want to call it out.
December 2nd, 2020. Congratulations. April 20th, 2021. Hey, bud, how are you? Pretty darn good. How are you? I'm good. I want to collaborate with you if you are willing. I was thinking I can get Hood Sommelier. Can I get Hood Sommelier to turn you into a single malt lover? I said, my English is not so well. My idea is to get you samples of single malt. We'll do a show where I teach you about them and see if you would love them. I'm terrible at writing, but if you have time, we can chat. This is April 20th. April 20th, 2020. I can give you a call tomorrow sometime.
Mm-hmm.
From April all the way to December 2021. Hey, brother, hope you're doing hell. We hope you're doing well. I want to circle back about our conversation. It's been almost 9 months, and I never heard back from you. That's the conversation.
Fair. I mean, it is what it is.
This is literally where I stand. That's my truth. Mm-hmm. That's literally it. So anybody can do of that what they believe, but that is a conversation sitting right now on my Instagram. That's literally where it is.
Yeah, I mean,
that's where it is. So
the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pour. Is that what the
correct? The proof is in the pudding or in the pour here. But this is literally this. Mm-hmm. This is not me making anything up. This is conversation that's sitting there. This is literally what it is. But I multiple times jumped on to go, let me see what my brother is doing. I love what he does. I congratulate him. He seemed to only drink bourbon. I would love for him to explore something new. I'm Scotch certified. I'm single malt certified. this will be the opportunity to actually get him out of his, his comfort zone, collaborate together to see what we can do together.
Yeah.
Probably multiple live stream after that, hundreds of live stream after that.
Mm-hmm.
No call, no email, no return of message or anything.
Yep. And that's, everybody has a different experience out there, and one doesn't ever negate the other. But the converse of that is that at my size and at what I'm doing, I had reached out to the same Matt. I'd reached out to him in January with an idea of a thing that I was wanting to do, and you guys were a part of that as well. I'd sent y'all a message and y'all were on board or whatever, and I got a response back like, yeah, I would love to participate in this, but who knows what the reason is, the why of it.
I try not to question it because I try not to question it, because somewhere I'm like, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't just meant to be. So somewhere is like, I can.
It's probably because you said
scotch. Yeah, I've done my part. You can be on my way, or I can just stay out of your way. Right. So for me, it's always, I'm just gonna stay out of your way, because obviously I'm not your cup of tea.
Right.
If it was interesting, you will move on with it, which is fine, because this industry, we all have different type of talent. So
it's different abilities lead to different things there, which kind of puts us all in this same space. And Matt, Bourbon Jeeper Matt, said size matters zero, and I've heard that before, but I don't know if I believe it.
Fuck.
It was Yoda, guys. Come on. It was definitely not. Shit. It was definitely not somebody besides. Anyways, but it puts us all in the same sphere. And you mentioned this earlier, Jack. You said the dreaded phrase of influencer.
Yeah.
Right? Chris Blattner and I went back and forth, not in a bad way, just like chatting back and forth on Instagram about that title, because he was having some people that were pushing back against the name and the title and the concept back in November, December, and we went back and forth over it. Like, what is your immediate negative connotation for either one of you guys for the idea of influencer, or is it even negative?
It depends on your market and your avenue. I mean, I would say, and Jack, you can go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong for this, but for the avenue that we're in and wanting to be educators and influence this market, not as an influencer, but as somebody who genuinely gives a shit about what you're drinking, like, that term influencer sucks, dude. That's not like, I just want you to have a fucking good time and you grow and learn as I grow and learn. So to put me in the bubble and say, oh, you're an influencer, the fuck I am. I give a shit about what I'm talking about. I'm not doing this for clout. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for fame. This is my profession. This is what I do for a living. Right. This is I want this industry to grow and get as big as it can, and get as many people involved as it can. It's one of the reasons why I'm so careful about when I don't like something, why I don't like it, and if me not liking it comes off too strong where it's going to turn somebody else off, I don't want to be a part of that. I'll be like, yes, it's this and it's that. It's not something that I go for, but these are the things that are a part of that thing. And these are the reasons why you might like it. And if you love it, cool, let's talk about that. And let's find some more cool things that you might like. So influencer? Nah, man, I hate that. I hate that term.
You hate the term because of the way it can be viewed by people. But I would challenge this is that, over the, like you're talking about being an educator, which you absolutely are, and you wanted to grow things. If you were to look at, just break it down and take off the E on the end of it and just make it influence, like, of the people who have had the greatest impact and influence in your life, how many of them have taught you something, have brought you, helped you grow, helped you do those things? And that was sort of the place that Chris was coming from, because yeah, I have a negative connotation for that term as well, because of how easily it's tossed around and how it is also people who are for sale and a whole bunch of other things. But if you break it down to its core definition, some of the most influential people in my life are people who have educated me on something or help grow me in some type of way. If you can't use the term influencer, you're not really just an educator either, right? Because you're not just stopping at teaching; you're doing much more than that. Like, what is it? What's the term now?
Sure.
Uh,
But go ahead. Sorry. I want, because I'm super curious about how you're gonna.
no, I remember 2 years ago I was in a meeting and the person said, "Oh, we give money and help these influencers to actually talk to us." And once COVID hit, no one actually even asked how things were going. They were just so eager to get their checks. So we really don't do the whole influencer thing. And I said, I understand, but I'm not an influencer. I'm an educator, right?
Right.
And is it because Freddie No is online that he's now a whiskey influencer? No, right? Is it because what do you call her? Um, is it because Connor O'Drixel from Heaven Hill is online now that it means that he's,
Mm-hmm.
Rachel Berry? Is it because Rachel Berry is online now that she's a whiskey influencer? No, right? They'll call him master distiller, head, head
Right.
this, head that. And the one thing is the connotation to it is because a friend of mine actually said this one time. She said, and this person worked for a distribution, a liquor distribution company. She said, what pissed me off the most is me reading someone posting something online on their Instagram because they take amazing photo and copy and paste tasting note from a bottle or website and posting on their Instagram. And all of a sudden now they're a whiskey expert, right? And that's the reason why I always tell people that if you feel like an imposter, you probably are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having an imposter syndrome when it comes to a few things makes sense. Why? Because you're not comfortable.
Right.
But when people ask me what I do in a whiskey industry, like I said, I, I'm an educator. The little that I know, I pass it along. Right? I pass it along. Right?
G-
Uh,
Jeeper is choosing violence over here in the chat. But
uh,
we've got to hold on.
Matt commented. Matt
Yep.
ADHD. Yeah. Um, uh, when what do you call it? When I what do you call it? When these people are coming online, like I don't want to call them influencers. I don't
Right.
call like I lowly call like a perfect example because Matt is here, right?
Yep.
The two Matt. Matt one, I call him the weed, the wicked bourbon kid, right? Because he makes bourbon fun for people that are watching his channel. Like
Yep.
I used to watch Matt, like the first 3 weeks ATSC Bourbon was on, I was the one sharing the link to
Mhm.
people. I said, I know whiskey, but this guy, that was when he didn't even have his sign in the back. He was
Right.
just sitting like in a living room set. I just sit there and I go, okay, it's like getting tickled by someone in whiskey because I'm like, this guy is fucking killer
Right.
because he destroys everything all the snobs of whiskey will ever feel about, right? He's a
Right.
wicked kid of it. But when I look at him, I always say his specialty, if I want to talk, if somebody say, build me a dream team of people you want. If he say bring me influencers are people that are looking for give me what do you call it? Give me a code, right?
Mhm.
Give me a code. I would take an affiliated code, and I will also take like guys. I've tried this whiskey. You can buy it at www.com. Use code Hood Sommelier so you
Right.
can really do this just like me. That's influencers. It
Mhm.
became the happy thing of the internet. But this is way too serious. because obviously we're in a regulated business, right? You can't just come in and go buy this and be okay, or buy this thing. Y'all will know when I become an influencer because all the brands, that actually asked me for a hat, when they asked me for a shirt, asked me to actually wear something from them, or this type of glass, or this type of magazine, then I'm an influencer. Why? I would be like, I'm an influencer that just so happened to be a whiskey expert. But when you want to talk about Freddie, no, Rachel Berry, all these people, we call all these people name. Everybody give them a specific name. They'll be like, dude, this is what they do. So if I'm gonna call Tim, I'll be like, oh, Tim. Oh, he's a bar manager. He's blah blah. He's a whiskey educator. Go to his bar. You'll learn some shit.
Yep.
So that's the reason why I don't want it to be bucket into an agent, because I was talking last week on Monday Sucks about, are you worth a bottle?
Yep.
Because the influencer game is that. Let me send you some makeup so you can put it on and come on and you can talk about, I'll give you an affiliated code.
Yeah. You absolutely were stepping all over my toes. I just want you to know that. I did catch that part. Because Tim will know when I was in the bar with him, it was the first time I'd had a brand reach out and be like, hey, we'd love to come on and be interviewed and talk about what we're doing. We'd also love to send you something. I'm like, cool, yeah. Now they haven't asked me for anything. They just sent out a sample, but I'll have them on. We'll talk about whatever they've got going on. And if I like what they have, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But they're not going to pay me anything for it. And I'm like, well, shit, now Jack's making me feel bad.
No. But here's the thing.
Yeah, no, I know what.
Yeah,
I know
you
what
understand.
Was,
you understand that because because now the answer is always an influencer is more like, I will tell you right now. I'm sure anybody here can relate. I've done so much free work and free advertisement for these brands. If I was an influencer, every time somebody send me something or want to send me something, I'm going to ask them for three things. One, where's my contract? Two, what's my affiliated code? And three, what's my percentage that I'm getting? That's what it's going to be. Because you are an influencer because you want to push the market of a product forward.
Right.
But we out here giving this knowledge and thing for free every week.
Yep.
And guess what? None of us ever called, Heaven Hill Mictors, what do you call it? Chattanooga, Spirit of French Lake, anybody, and go, hey, this is how much I cost to do this. This is the proof. This is my percentage. This is my affiliated thing. We don't do that. So when we want to partner with you and you're going to pay us to actually take our knowledge and the size of people that follow us and bring it on front, this is you paying us what we are worth. A WSET certification is $580. Literally. Did you pay that? No. What I know, you didn't participate. It's like someone going to work and say, I have a bachelor degree and I qualify for a job, and you go, oh, we got John Blow in the corner that doesn't have a bachelor degree, but he say he knows everything about his job. Right. And he don't want anything for it. And you're like doesn't make no goddamn sense.
Right.
Yeah. So don't put me in a bucket with influencers. Respect me for the knowledge that I have first. And then, I'm telling y'all, once I get these 6 packs, y'all can call me an influencer, because I'm just going to be out here just asking everybody, a sports brand, every brand to just sponsor me so I can look all decked up before I come here.
Yeah, and see that's how you're gonna get me too, because you're gonna be like, this is the long con. Is like Jack's building an influential community, and then he's gonna sell out here at the end, and we're all just gonna be decked out in whatever Jack's flag is. We're gonna be sold, through the nose. But I guess the point of what I've been trying to do is, I want to provide the identity of the brands that people are buying. Like, what information can I give you about this as the common consumer? And so I'm on board whenever this company says, hey, you want to interview? Yeah, I want to ask some questions. I want to find out who you guys are. So the next time that, Jim down the road is standing at the liquor store and he sees that bottle, he might know something about whoever this is, as opposed to kind of going in blind. Because one of the things that I've identified being in a liquor store, if you don't know anything about whiskey and you're standing in front of the shelf, man, it's scary as hell. You don't know what to do. It's like the first time that I had a girlfriend in high school that sent me to the pharmacy to pick up a box of tampons for her. I didn't know what to do because I had no idea what was what. I don't know what your brand or color or style. I don't know any of these things. And that's what like new whiskey people feel. And so that was kind of the point of it. But you said something, Jack. You said even Chattanooga. Like, are you guys patched up now? Like you're okay with Chattanooga?
No,
or y'all like
no,
okay? When you threw the name in there, I'm like, oh well, there's some new friendship here.
You know what? I said this and I say this again. The bottle of the mead.
They still owe me money.
Sitting there, $69.99 plus tax plus shipping is $89.99. They still owe me that money before we start any sort of conversation.
Have you sent them an email and been like, "Hey, I need my money back"? Have you tried that?
I never hate on any whiskey brand, but he took everything out of me not to send Chattanooga whiskey an email to say you guys owe me money because all that stuff you guys put out that I bought, it was way too young, did not sit on my palate. Some of them was disaster of an experiment, and I don't want y'all to make me an experiment. Just give me good whiskey. Now, I will tell you right now, I fell on my sword when we did a turning table, or what is it?
Bourbon turntable.
Bourbon turntable. I fell on my sword. He sent me the Chattanooga bonded, and Lord behold, it was good whiskey. So they waited 4.5 years.
The funny thing about that is he had no idea. Like, had no idea your qualms with Chattanooga. Like,
I thoroughly I chuckled to myself because I watched them. Like, I like what they're doing, and at some point in time, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, you guys, I want to come talk about music and whiskey." But whenever they brought that, I was like, "Oh no, what's about to happen?" Because I'm watching it. And I'm like,
it was truly one of those things where I was like, "Oh my God, you know what? I'm falling on my sword." And I'm a big of a man to actually say, you know what, it was good whiskey. You guys did this one well, but everything else I bought 3 years ago from y'all is not it. Was not it at all. So,
and was that just? I mean, were they? I don't know the timetable here, but were they just young at that point in time and just?
I think they were just very young because I have that 1816, and I have their experimental barrel, and I have another bottle somewhere. And the stupid thing is, I bought plenty of the barrel just believing in them, right? Like, hey, this is a new brand coming in. You have to believe in them. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't opened those bottles ever. I'm waiting for someone to piss me off and ask me for a bottle of whiskey and be like, guess what? I got something for you.
I know if you ever offer me some Chattanooga whiskey, I have done fucked up bad.
yeah. If you get Chattanooga whiskey from me, you're on.
I got some Chattanooga whiskey for. Well, shit. Better not. That's
here's another great example of that. Okay, Jeff the Creed. Their 4 grain. It's like 2.5-ish year. I hated. I was honest with them. I knew someone who worked there and was like, I don't know what the fuck y'all are trying to do, but whatever's in that bottle is not for me. I don't want anything to do with it. And they came out with the bonded. This was not sent to me. I bought this with my own money. I love bottled and bond. I'm always hunting for bottled and bond whiskey. I saw this and I was like, well, shit, I'll give it a try. And I love this. I think this is fucking great. I'm excited to see what they're doing as we go forward. But that 4 grain, nah, man, that's not it.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see as brands grow, right? And so that's like one of the things that I'm doing. Like, I've got Bardstown, and I don't have the Discovery series. I have the Fusion series from 1 to 6. I'm missing number 3. That's the only one I'm missing. But because I want to see from the first one they put out, which was, a mixture of their distillate and somebody else's, all the way until they finally have a bottle of entirely their own distillate. Like, I want to walk that progression because number 1 is not going to be nearly as good as number 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or the final bottle, but it's interesting to learn. But like folks like Jeff the Creed, what I think that to some degree they're the future of whiskey because they have the ability when they have access to their own farm to try out new variants of corn, new variants of rye, new variants of whatever by growing it themselves. It's a good thing that mirror is not any lower, right? Did this happen again? Anyways, they have the ability to test out experiments that big distillers don't, because a big distiller, like I was on a tasting with Lisa Wicker a couple weeks ago, and she was just looking for somebody in New York to grow rye because she doesn't have access to a farm. She wants to find rye in New York so she can do an Empire Rye. But if you have your own farm, you can try whatever you want to whenever you want to. And that's where the experimental phase of whiskey is like really, really interesting for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Jeeper had a question for you guys. Matt did. And his was, where do you want to be in 2 years, whiskey wise?
Oh man.
I'll give you guys a little bit of time and I'll answer. I hope I'm doing exactly this. I mean, realistically, this is a thing that I just enjoy doing. I have a career doing something completely different, which is far less interesting. But as long as I'm still having conversations with people, doesn't really matter where they are in the industry. If I find them interesting and they agree to have that conversation, that's what success looks like for me in 2 years. No matter what. Now, maybe I'll have a better camera and a better lighting system, and my room won't be 800 damn degrees like it is tonight. But that largely doesn't matter because it doesn't impact the conversation.
I would say in 2 years, I hope Fred Minnick is worried about me.
I will piggyback off that and say the same thing. Is because since I've been here in Louisville,
mm-hmm.
I've been gunning for what he's doing, and not that I can do it better, but
you can do it different.
I'm going to do it different,
mm-hmm.
And I want to have I want to just be able to go somewhere and be like, hey, I'm here. Let's drink some whiskey and let's talk about it.
Right.
Just like a pop-up.
Immediate recognition as soon as you show up to a place.
Absolutely. Like it's the best way I know how to describe it is in the tattoo industry, guest spots, right? So like mm-hmm. you're a tattoo artist and you've reached a certain level of acclaim, and now you can travel the US or travel the world and be like, you know what? I'm going to go to Amsterdam. I'm going to go to Amsterdam for 2 weeks and I'm going to be at this tattoo shop. Come get tattooed by me.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of concept. I'm going to be in Florida for 3 days. I'm going to be at this bar. Come hang out. Let's talk about whiskey, and let's do that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there.
I'm hoping actually, as he's doing that there, and I'll be happy for Tim while he's doing that, because personally, I'll probably be working on a personal project of mine in whiskey somewhere in a different continent.
We've had Jack and I. We've had a conversation about this. That's your.
I'm not going to ask which one, but do you have the continent picked? I assume at this point.
Yep, he sure does. I'd say that's what your 10-year plan. 5-year plan. 5-year plan. Okay, 5-year plan.
The goal is
we have to expand it out to 5 years. Like if we go out to 5 years, I hope I'm like Powerball retired at that point. You know. Like I told Alan the exact same thing. You know, we've always had this discussion at work. Like, you know, if you hit the $500 million Powerball, like what do you do with that money? And I was like, you know, I would absolutely 100%. I would purchase a distillery. I would hire Alan to be my master distiller. I would hire Nancy Fraley to be my master blender taster, and I would just run that until all the money was gone, just until it's completely gone, or we're wildly successful. But either way, it'll be a hell of a ride.
I will. Yeah. If $500 million, definitely, I will be somewhere, you know, making great whiskey for people. You know, but the funny thing is, I will be dealing in another business that have to do with whiskey. I'll be dealing in stills, barrels,
mm-hmm.
and cooperage. That's definitely where I'll be dealing in.
I mean, there's a future in cooperage because it's going to get tough in the next 20 or 30 years. I mean, at some point in time, unless the demand for whiskey and wine goes down, we start running out of available resources for barrels.
And that's one thing I have to remind people is, as you're drinking, you have to keep that in mind, that you know, we are out here, in Scotland. They are getting to that point where their good age stocks are also getting to that point
Right.
where they're almost unattainable. But here we are also getting to that point where some of these barrels are going to be one of a kind, and the
Hmm.
price is going to be so up there that you buying the same juice, 5 10 years 5 years ago, even, like, dude, I'm sitting here right now and I'm looking at my own collection, and I'm like, I have Booker's from 2013 or 12.
Right.
No, that juice is impossible to ever have ever
Correct.
again.
Correct.
Ever. And I'm holding a piece of history in my hand because that is, you know, 10 years from now, 10 years from now, that's a 20-year-old, you know, juice that is out there that I can never ever dream to even find, you know. So
Yeah. And it's, I had I had this discussion with Alan as well, and talking about, whiskey from 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. We can never recreate that. And just for the simplest reason is that the wood that they were using for those barrels would be called old growth wood, and that
yeah.
doesn't exist in North America anymore, largely. And
Oh,
we're all after North American white oak of whatever type. So the way that whiskey ages in those barrels is different than what it is now. Your lignin contents, your ring growth, your all of that is significantly different, and it's just going to get worse because we're farming trees now, and so the patterns become more standardized. The wood all starts to look the same. We're trying to make it grow faster, and faster doesn't equal better, and just about anything, specifically whiskey.
no, I think that actually even showed, like, personally, just from my experience, Tim is the reason why I realized that as well,
Mhm.
because he's a dusty collector.
Yep.
So some of these whiskeys of my age, Tim, one of the greatest thing, if you are a friend with Tim, is that if it's your birthday, there's a chance he have the year that you
Right.
were born, Wild Turkey and a Dusty. And when he served me in 1984 Wild Turkey, I'm like, shut the fuck up, get out of here, twist my nipple and pour me a double. That's literally, how I felt at that
Mhm.
time. And
Yep.
that juice is impeccable, right? Impeccable compared to what we have here. If that juice at that time may have been a 10 or 15, 6, 7, 8 years or 15 years, weather type of wood and that, but the taste of it is way light years ahead of the whiskey we're having now.
Yep.
You can look at it this way too: is like I could buy a plot of land and plant a bunch of oak and say none of this oak can be touched for 30 years and make barrels out of it, and then you still have to let that whiskey age. Let's say I
Right.
want an 8-year product. Guess what? I'm probably not going to be able to taste any of that shit. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Mhm.
maybe, but like we're even if we set ourselves up to grow this industry like down the future, like
Right.
ahead, looking ahead, we're not going to get to drink any of that shit.
No.
No, who said it? Was it Freddie? No, was it Freddie? No, or was it Freddie Johnson in the Netflix documentary?
Oh, it was it was
He's the
it
one
was
who
it was
said,
Johnson. Yep.
yes,
Yep.
most distillers will not get to the chance to taste whiskey they're barreling now.
There. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They can only be lucky enough that things that you're barreling now, you'll get a chance to taste those at their optimal maturation of 25, 30, or 40 years old.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
that's the thing that always makes, like, I find, like, super interesting is I look at, like, Jim Beam when they came out with their signature craft series, right? That was in 2006, 7, we'll just say. I think it was around 2006 or 2007. But that was 12-year-old whiskey that they did an experiment with brown rice or three-row wheat or whatever else,
I have
which is,
four. I have four of them here.
yeah, I've got a brown rice one over here, but they did that experiment as far as growing the crop and distilling the spirit at least 6 years before the whiskey boom hit, when nobody
Yeah.
wanted whiskey. Like they were trying out things like that, which is just like how do you it's trading in futures, but not like trading in futures like commodity futures. You're trading in futures that is 6, 10, 12, 15, 20 years down the road.
Absolutely.
We
So
talked
geez.
we talked about this on Monday Sucks with Bardstown Bourbon Company, and in reference to their founders edition. Okay,
Mhm.
so they had whiskey that was aged. Let's say the barrels that they pulled and they gave to founders was 3-year-old whiskey. Okay, then they gave that barrel to founders, or how many barrels it was. They gave them to founders, and they put their stout in that barrel, and it sat for however long. Let's say it sat for
A year.
a year, right?
Mhm.
It's a year. Okay. Then founders took that barrel and gave it back to Bardstown Bourbon Company, and bourbon sat in that barrel for 18 months.
Right.
We're talking 2.5, almost 3 years of a project of something you were talking about before we were even talking about doing a founders collaboration.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's like, to actually think about that. There, I had like this aha moment. I was like, oh fuck, this has been in the works. This
For a
isn't just
long time.
something. This isn't just something you were guys like, hey, you know what would be fucking cool if we did.
We
No,
should do that. Yeah.
Well,
they're
that's the thing
already.
is like it's not even just that. Like it's somebody has the idea, then they have to pitch it to the business and make it make sense. So like Todd Leopold is a prime example of that, right? His 3-chamber rye, which is polarizing. Some people are like it's terrible, and some people are like it's amazing. But he had to start with building a brand new still for it, and then finding the right type of rye. Like this is the forethought that goes into some of these things, and this is where you start appreciating these folks that are taking these kind of risks. Like there's a lot of people that just sort of shit on finished whiskey, finishing it in a secondary barrel, and rightfully so, because some people are putting it in there for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. Or they're using
Let's not
wet
jump
barrels.
into that. I'm
Right. We're not going to get into it, but they may use wet
I'm
barrels,
getting
but-
the back signal on my side already. So let's not get into that because
you have people that'll do it right, like Bardstown. Bardstown has done a series of finishes. I've got their Prisoner. I've got a Pfeiffer Pavitt. You know, the Ferrand was, I think, one of the best whiskeys that I had in 2021. You know, it was just a great finish, right? It was a great finish, but these are just like long-term visions that somebody came up with, and then someone else finally agreed to financially.
absolutely.
It's such a weird thing. Like when you really break it down like that and you think about it, you're like, fuck, somebody believed in this. Somebody believed enough in this to fund it. Here's one more. I'll throw this one more example for you. Tabasco, okay? Tabasco hot sauce, okay?
Right?
What was it, like the late 1800s when it started? Can you imagine? So first of all, before a product is ready from Tabasco, 3 years, okay? 3 years. Could you imagine back then going to an investor, be like, hey, got this fucking great idea. I got this pepper mash. I'm gonna make my own hot sauce. It's gonna revolutionize the world for flavor. That sounds great. Oh, okay, well, it's gonna be 3 years.
Right.
3 years until I have a product to give to you.
This is going to sound very wide of me, but I feel like an Asian company has to be involved in that, right? They have to be there from the beginning because they understood long-term fermenting and its concept and how it imparted flavor to spicy things. So you think about sriracha, you think about kimchi, you think about things that are have just been around forever.
Just soy sauce, even. Yeah.
Right. Soy. Like I didn't know how soy sauce was made until How It's Made came out, and then I learned, and I'm like, holy shit, this process! Like it had to be somebody. Like if you're talking 1800, like they had to be like, no, we do this all the time. Come on, we'll do this because nobody else is thinking like that. At least not in North America.
Absolutely,
And especially not then.
No.
But now I feel like that paradigm has shifted a little bit. Now people are like, hey, let's do. Hey, in like 5 years, I got this great fucking thing coming back. Let's start it now.
correct.
But then sometimes it goes too far, and you end up with whiskey in a Tabasco barrel.
That's why I was hoping you don't say that.
When he started off with Tabasco, I thought that's what he was going to go into.
Don't make me go pull my bottle out of
the
bar.
No.
It may have a purpose in a mixed drink, but if you want to abuse your mouth that way,
it's still a Sunday. It's still a Sunday afternoon for me. or Sunday night for me right now.
That is absolutely terrible. All right. Before we run too much longer here, do you guys have anything y'all want to plug aside from Monday Sucks?
Make sure you go subscribe to Hood Sommelier on Facebook. Hopefully, by the end of this week, I'll be announcing the date of Afrofusion DC. It's going to be a party. We found a beautiful location where shit's.
I'll be there.
And
I'll be there.
And what else? From my side here, keep an eye on my Instagram. I'm bringing on. You guys are the first to hear this. I am bringing on Victoria Butler, master blender of
awesome
of Uncle Nearest. I'm bringing her in March. Pretty much, I do Irish whiskeys and I do obviously Women History Month. So I bring on women in the industry. There's 3 or 4 of the women that I'll be bringing before the end of the month as well. So
I'm trying to sneak Morgan in before the end of the month as well.
Stay tuned, and you get to experience. By the 10th is when I'm bringing Victoria in. It'll be at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's what we'll be chatting.
You absolutely know I'll be there. So what do you got going on, Tim? You got anything to plug?
For me, just keep an eye on my Instagram. I'm doing 30 days of bonded whiskey. We did day 4 today. I'm just tearing through some bonded whiskey. Found some cool stuff that I didn't even know existed, and some other cool shit that you didn't even know could be bonded. So,
which remind me, I have to send you something. In Nebraska, Breakaway, our local distillery, did a 5-year American whiskey bonding.
Ooh.
Okay, so is Breakaway legit? So my family we're doing the great family Go West road trip this summer, and our goal is to leave here. We're going to Kansas City, then we're going to cut up through Omaha, go to South Dakota, go over to Rushmore, come back through Nebraska, and just
Breakaway is legit. Zach is amazing.
That's what immediately I'm like, all right, can I find a distillery in every state? Because
Breakaway is amazing. They came up with amazing stuff, and I for their 8-year anniversary this year in February, they had an 8-year. When you were talking about bonded, it didn't even click on me. It's a 5-year American whiskey in a sherry cask bonded.
Very cool. Very cool.
All right, I'm gonna give you guys one last question to answer. Did you cover what you needed to, Tim, or did I stop you?
Oh no, okay. You're great. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And
follow me.
We can keep going, but we're at like an hour and 40, and Jack's looking a little tired. I'm seeing some tired eyes.
No. Bad signal. It's Sunday. Is family day. So
yeah. No, like I said, I'm stealing time from your family. So Matt had one other question, Bourbon Jeeper Matt, not ADHD Matt. So that's going to get confusing, and I hate referring to people by their social media handle. Like I know both of their real names. So if you look back on what you've done so far in the whiskey world, what's the one thing you would have done differently?
Oh shit, man! I can answer that. I can answer that right away. I wish I would have paid more attention to who I listened to and who I put trust into. Because when I was starting off, I tarnished my name for a lot of people, and some people still don't want anything to do with me, and that's fine. You know, you can grow and you can change, but I wish I would have paid more attention to who I listened to. That would be my biggest thing. Is slow down a little bit. Be quicker to listen than to speak. And that's just not in this. That's just with anything. Right. I wish I would have. The things that I've learned in the last 2 years, I wish that I would have had it for my whole life. I wish I would have been a whole lot whole lot slower to speak and quicker to listen.
I have done it the reverse way. I went and met the distillers, met the people that I know now first before I actually started my channel.
Mm.
I have done it the opposite way.
Mm.
Okay. And I think mine's slightly different than y'all, so I'll answer to it. Matt, I think Matt was asking you guys, but I'm going to answer anyways. I would have started earlier, right? So, you know, this is, you can get into this idea that, number one, the whiskey whatever marketplace is already saturated. Everybody's already doing all the things. There's no reason for you to be there. And you sort of said this, Tim, is that, you know, not everybody has to necessarily like you. So the idea is that you're not everyone's cup of tea, but you're probably someone's cup of tea. And thinking about it for far too long, I wanted to start doing this 9 months before I did. Yeah. But I did let's analyze this thing, and I analyzed it into dust. And finally I was like, just do something, man. Just like start doing something. And it's sort of maybe contradictory what you're saying, Jack, is you would have been different about how you started, but there's a bunch of people out there, I think, that probably have a unique voice and a unique opportunity, and it's not completely full. Like there's enough room for more people.
Yeah. I think that's summarized it. Tomorrow I'll be putting a quote that has to do with this.
Okay. Well, I'm not trying to steal your stuff, then. That's gonna make me feel bad. I'm stealing something. I'm sure it'll be stated far more eloquently. Anyways, so I'm gonna boot you guys here in just a second, but I appreciate both of y'all being here tonight. We've ran an hour and 40 minutes. It's exactly what I expected. I had enough questions to run 30 minutes, but I don't usually worry about that. And if you saw me looking down a bunch, I take notes and come back and ask other questions.
You did the greatest thing on this show. Matt ADHD actually responded to my DM.
Hey, so, you know, if you've got a platform,
something great came out of this show.
Yeah. It's like the call that I was on with Lisa. She was looking for somebody, Lisa Wicker. She was looking for somebody to grow rye for her in New York. And I work in ag tech, and I know some people that work in New York that work with farmers. And so I'm like, hey, let me put you in touch with these people. Maybe something happens, maybe something doesn't, but that's what this type of an industry is about, is you just happen to make a connection with somebody, and I'm going to try to help where I can. So,
absolutely.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys for being here. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night. I'm going to stick y'all in the green room, close it out. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining me tonight or today or whenever you happen to catch this. I hope you found this episode entertaining. I truly enjoy any time I get to spend with Jack and Tim. It's always a great time. If you did enjoy this, please leave a review on whatever platform you are consuming this on. Leave a comment if possible. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram. Embellish Pod is where I am, TikTok as well. You can give me a follow, see what's going on. And be found on my website is www.embellishpod.com. All of my links, accounts, contact details, and I'll be back again next week with another new offering for you. So until then, cheers and thanks for hanging out.